What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new commentary video. And as always, before this video gets started, I quickly do want to mention that if you want to submit your own question for these videos, you can do so by going down into the description and clicking the Google form link to submit your own anonymous question if you feel so. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to hop straight into today's video. So let's go ahead and read a question here from the Google form. I'm starting a new job and I'm a little nervous. This is a job that I don't have a ton of knowledge about. And I'm kind of scared to start, as I think that I'm going to be judged and that I'm going to make mistakes. How should I deal with this? And how can I handle the first day? That is a good one, man, because there are a lot of people, whether if it's your first job, you're changing careers, or you're just literally starting at a new company, doing the same thing that you've been doing for 20 years, is starting a new job is quite scary. And I've had a number of jobs over the years. I'll tell you a little bit about all of them. So my first job ever was at Subway. I worked at Subway for about a year, and that was pretty nerve-wracking because it was like my real first job. I was like 16. I was either 16 or 17, and so I started out and I was very nervous. I walked in the first day, thought that I was going to make a ton of mistakes, really worried about being judged, and guess what, man? None of that really happened, because the thing is that especially if you're a young guy when you're starting your first job, people are expecting you to mess up, right? And that's what a lot of these younger jobs are for. My first couple jobs, there were plenty of mistakes that I made. At Subway, you would make a sandwich wrong, or you would get an order wrong, or you'd hand the wrong change back, or something like that. Like small mistakes that a lot of people are going to make during their first job, just because it's their first job. They haven't experienced anything like this. And then my second job, I worked at McDonald's, and I was better. I was more prepared. But what's funny is I walked in there on my first day, even though that this wasn't my first job and I already had a year of experience in service, is that I was still quite nervous. I was quite nervous, and I wasn't expecting that, but I was. But no, I then worked there for a year, and I guess the best piece that I can give you is no matter where you're at in your career, no matter where you're at in your life, the first day of any job is going to be nerve-wracking. And I can tell you every single job that I've had since then has been the same way. And then when I was an Engage leader, which was basically a freshman advisor, when I was a freshman advisor, that job was built for me, right? And I showed up the first day, and I was very nervous, felt like I was out of place. But almost immediately you feel like you slip in. But the truth is that the best piece that I can give you is that if it is your very first job, you're going to feel that for the first couple weeks. I remember when I was at Subway, I felt like a fish out of water for a long time, mainly because it's really going to be the first time in your life that you are going to be surrounded by people that all aren't like you. And what I mean by that is that even if you don't get along with everybody in high school, or you don't get along with everybody in your family, you all are similar in some ways. But, right now there's a lot of memes about people making jokes about, me talking to my 40-year-old coworker and I'm buying, PCs and he's supporting his family of 5, right? There's jokes about that. It's really going to be the first time that you're going to experience a life of people that you've never would have expected. And that's not me trying to be mean or anything like that, but it's going to teach you a lot about life. Because typically if you are working a job at 16 like that, you probably have a decent life. You know what I mean? Like you probably have decent parents, probably. I don't know your life, but that just going off of metrics, you probably have a decent life. And you're going to meet people that haven't had the easiest time in life. They've had a hard hand of cards dealt their way. And it is really, really scary. I can tell you that, my first job was like that, there was people in that situation where you could tell they've been through some shit. They've had crazy lives and the drug abuse or crazy family situations that you're going to learn about, because you're going to spend the part of your day after school with these people, and you're going to learn what it's like to be these people, and they're going to have very different lives than you did. And it's going to teach you a lot. And that's kind of scary at first, but if you're somebody like me, I find it interesting, right? I find it interesting to talk to people that are different than me, that disagree with me or have different viewpoints than me. It's a very interesting thing, and it's going to teach you a lot about life, and it's going to give you a lot of different skills for life, you know, for your jobs after this. And you know, that's the big thing. These first couple jobs that you were going to go through in either high school or right after high school, they're going to teach you a lot about life. And I can tell you this right now, if like 17-year-old me had the current job that I had, not here, I'm talking about my actual job, I don't think that I would be able to do it. I truthfully do think that. Not only just because it's like, oh, I need college education for what I do. It's like full on like, dude, like my 17-year-old self would not have been able to handle a lot of the stuff that I do now, right? And that's just the truth. And I think that you're going to learn that pretty quickly, and you're going to realize how crazy life actually can be and how crazy work can be. Yeah, that's really the major thing that I want to tell you about. But, you know, when it comes to preparing for that first day, show up on time, show up a little early, actually. Show up like 10 minutes early. Be ready. If there's a uniform, be in proper uniform, even go a step above. Be prepared, all right? Know a little bit about what you're going to be doing, okay? I don't know what you're doing because you didn't tell me. But if you're doing something like fast food, you don't got a lot to prepare for. You know, to show up on time, be in your uniform, be ready for the day. That's the big thing I want to tell you, is just be ready. Because a lot of people, you know, kind of are going to be like... They're gonna be expecting you to know a little bit, and I know that you mentioned here that you don't know much about what you're doing, and that's fine. But I'm not saying you need to go on being a 10-year expert, but go on knowing a little bit about what you're doing. You know, and I've always kind of done that with my jobs. You know, I've always kind of been prepared a little bit to know what to expect when I show up on that first Monday or whatever, right? You know, when I did my interview for my current job, I studied up on a bunch of different rules and stuff that I wasn't perfectly familiar with. And guess what? That's why I got the job. All right, my boss told me that's why, okay? Because you know why? The other people that he interviewed couldn't tell you different rules that the FCC has, okay? And I could, all right? I had those rules fucking memorized, okay? I knew the rules. That's super important for jobs. Is you want to go in super fucking prepared, okay? You don't want to go in giving off this sense of weakness because people are going to be able to smell that, okay? Like, genuinely, people are going to be able to smell that. So just be prepared and walk in fucking confident, your head high, and like they're not expecting you to be ready to like literally charge the company, but they do want you to like not be all like fucking droopy, head down, fucking like clearly was all up all night playing Battlefield 6, not like I wasn't, but you know, like jokes aside, it's like, you know, you don't want to show up on that Monday morning and then not be prepared because you were doing something else or because you clearly didn't show enough initiative. So I know that it's scary, and just practice a little bit, do a little bit of research on whatever you're going to be doing, because I'm telling you what, it is going to come in massive fucking handy. I can tell you firsthand that that whenever I knew anything about a job and I showed up, they were happy, right? You know, like when I was a freshman advisor, I would show up and I knew a lot of stuff about the handbook, and it was good because then people didn't need to worry about, hey, we need to train this guy like thoroughly or whatever. It was like, okay, we're gonna do a touch up and make sure you know everything, but like, you know, like, you don't want to make their jobs difficult, right? You want to be able to come through and shine, because they are looking for a star candidate, and they already hired you, so you already stood out in the interview. So now you just need to bring that all together and prove that you know what you're talking about. Prove what you're able to do, what you talked about in your interview. Just come in and prove it, okay? And you don't need to prove it day one or anything like that. Especially your first couple weeks are going to be kind of chill. You know, they're going to expect you to make some mistakes. They're going to expect you to not know every little thing. But yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting journey. But very proud of you for getting a new job. Hope this advice helped. And yeah, man, I really hope that you do well. But yeah, as always, everybody, I just want to quickly mention that there is a link to submit your own question down in the description if you would like, via a Google form link. It's anonymous, or you can drop it down in the comments. I don't care. But anyways, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Peace.